I didn't really understand this formula and this blend between hearing your intuition and then executing on it. And you keep hitting those promotions and those bonuses and those trips, and it's still unfulfilling. Eventually you get to a point where you're like, something's broken. They say that one session of breathwork is equivalent to 2 years of psychotherapy. Once you can identify the source of the trigger, it dissipates by 50%.
Right.
While in breath, it takes you straight into those memories. It takes you straight into those emotions, and then you use the breath to release it from your body. Now we layer on hypnosis and visioning so that you can reprogram and you can see how you want to show up in the world. For most people, they need a new vision. They need a new image of themselves. They need to break the pattern of who they've been, who they are. And so we have you explore that, and we start to fire new neural pathways. We start to create new synaptic connections in your brain. And now you start to see what's possible. You start to step into it. This is how real change is created.
Welcome to the show, Francesca.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here.
I am too, especially because you're a local San Diegan and we got to meet through a mutual friend. And once I got into your bio and got into your Instagram, I was like, oh my gosh, how did we not already know each other?
I know. I've only been here for 1.5 years though, so
Oh,
I feel
okay.
like that's probably why.
That's fair. That's fair. What brought you to San Diego?
A meditation.
Meditation.
Yeah, we were just talking a little bit about this, but when I do breath work and I meditate, I set a very clear intention of what's next to reach my goals, and just a very clear vision that I had to start building my company here came through. And so that was it.
That was it. It just came through your breath work.
Yeah, I think 1 week later started looking at apartments. And then as soon as my lease was up in LA, I moved.
Wow. That's a big step. It doesn't sound like one, but you moved based on intuition derived during a 20-minute breathwork session.
That's literally how I live my life and how I build my business.
And is that wasn't always the case? Like when you were with Google, you weren't probably doing that same thing?
No, I wasn't tapped into my intuition at that time. I didn't really understand this formula and this blend between hearing your intuition and then executing on it. At that time, I was much more unconscious and just in that New York hustle and New York grind. Yeah.
So what was the aha? What was that moment where you realized you weren't awake, so to speak? Is that a fair
Yeah, that's totally
characterization?
fair. I think it's the same thing most people have. You reach those goals and those dreams that you've been working really hard for, and then you're at that pinnacle moment and you're like, oh, this is what it feels like. This isn't satisfactory at all. And if you do that for several years and you keep hitting those promotions and those bonuses and those trips and those relationships or whatever that looks like, and it's still unfulfilling, eventually you get to a point where you're like, something's broken and I need to figure out what that is. And so I had jumped ship from Google to the global marketing team at Bacardi. I was flying business class around the world. I was doing shoots in Buenos Aires, and I was like, okay, I'm living my dream life. You know, I have an apartment in the West Village. I'm going to all these parties, and I'm miserable.
You were really miserable.
I was miserable.
Inside or like just in every element?
Externally, it was glamorous and it looked awesome on my Instagram, you know, posting all kinds of infinity pools and whatnot. But inside, I just was insatiable. And when you're constantly chasing this void and you're never happy and you're never satisfied in the moment, it's just a stressful way to live. It's an unhappy way to live. So I needed to do a little bit of digging and kind of get into alignment of what would actually make me happy, what would truly fulfill me. So I ended up going to San Francisco to try a tech startup because I thought something more entrepreneurial. But if you've been to San Francisco, you'll know that that's not the vibe. And
Correct.
that made me actually hit rock bottom even more because I didn't have the parties and the fun city to kind of distract me. And so I started reading, and I came across a couple books that were really life-changing for me, including The Power of Now. Have you read that one by
From
Eckhart?
Eckhart Tolle?
Mhm.
I have. The yellow cover.
Yes, that's when I was like,
Like your jacket.
like my jacket, just learning to be more in the present moment and listen to myself and listen to my body. And that was really guiding me to just leave it all behind and go to Bali and go to this 7-day breathwork retreat, which was the catalyst for my journey now.
But what even exposed you to the breath work? Because I feel like what you just said when you were with Google and Bacardi, I know those traits. High achievers in the business community tend to never be satisfied, which allows them to get to that pinnacle of success because we're always wanting more. And the reason we always want more is because we're never satiated once we achieve something. You're never satisfied is the common thing we all hear. But that doesn't all lead to understanding and finding breath work.
No.
And so you're in San Francisco, you read The Power of Now,
Yeah.
but there's no breath work discussion in that.
So I read The Power of Now. I'm learning to be more present. After that book, he recommends a book called Living in the Light by Shakti Gawain.
I did not read that one.
I have chills again. So this book teaches you how to hear your intuition. And it's really simple in the beginning. She's like, listen to your body. What feels good in your body? And I'm like, going to this startup does not feel good in my body. And I was like, just sitting there thinking of different scenarios and closing my eyes and being like, what feels good in my body? And I would play out scenarios and think of different family members and think of ex-boyfriends, and none of it felt good. Bali felt really good.
Had you ever been before?
I'd been once.
Okay.
And it was incredible. And I was like, I don't know what I need to do there, but I just know I need to go. I don't know if I need to go soul searching. I don't know if I need to just go to yoga classes or just lay by the pool for a week. I have no idea, but something's telling me to go to Bali. So I made this decision to book a one-way ticket to Bali. And as I booked it, I'm just looking at things to do, and I come across this retreat website, and there's one retreat in particular that said 7-day holotropic breathwork retreat. And the author's words sounded exactly like Eckhart's. Everything was hitting home for me. Everything was resonating. And I'm like, I don't know what breathwork is, have no clue, but I like this person's words and it resonates with me. And it feels good in my body. I'm trying out this new thing, and I'm just going to book this 7-day breathwork retreat.
Wow. Wow. That's fascinating. Because I don't think I would have, I mean, booking a one-way ticket to Bali, first of all,
Felt good.
I'm sure it felt good, but I mean, what you had to have no agenda prior. I mean, you booked it, you took immediate decisive action. I'm booking this one way. And then you figured out what you were going to do.
Yeah.
You didn't find this breath work first.
No.
You had already booked your ticket.
No, I booked my ticket. And that was actually a series of events. I think it's funny to have these discussions with men, right? Because for you guys, there's so much more need for predictability, for certainty, and for structure. And for females, when we're really learning to lean into our femininity, it's all intuition, and trusting yourself. You know, I had a track record of, I'll figure out any situation that I'm in. It'll be fine. Going to Bali isn't like some really tough decision to me, you know?
It sounds pretty relaxing.
Yeah, it'll be fine. But what happened after that was really interesting, because my conditioned mind was like, okay, I need to go back to work, you know, my savings, my 401k, my salary. And my body was like, no, don't go back into marketing. Just go to India. And I was like, okay. You know, it was just this series of little intuitive nudges that kept me going on this journey, unbeknownst to me, for an entire year.
Wow.
I went to Peru.
So you went Bali, did the week-long breath work.
I ended up staying for a month.
Okay.
Going to different workshops and just studying more breath, because the breath work was absolutely mind-blowing. It was absolutely fascinating, completely changed my life in a week. I knew I would never be the same, and I knew I had to tell more people about it, and that this would probably be the avenue I started to pursue.
After 1 week, it just all became that clear.
After one session. They say that one session of breath work is equivalent to 2 years of psychotherapy.
Okay, we're definitely going to...
No, I know.
Before we started, she had offered to put me through a 20-minute session. I'm in.
And you were like, yeah, okay. And I'm like, no, we're definitely doing it.
Yes, I'm in.
Yeah, equivalent to 2 years of psychotherapy. And I've had now clinical psychologists do my training, because they're like, people can intellectualize all day. You're sitting in therapy, you're like, great, I have a high level of self-awareness. Maybe I have a high level of emotional intelligence. I understand why I'm making these decisions. I understand the void, the pattern, the behavior, my father, my mother. Great. That does not change the response in your nervous system. I'm sorry. But even if you know it and you can intellectualize it, it does not change your behavior.
But breath work will.
100%.
Why?
It affects your physiology. because it's changing the balance of oxygen and carbon dioxide. What this does is it allows you to get into your subconscious mind.
Okay.
Now, your subconscious mind has the motivations for these behaviors. It has the values. It has the identity. It's not just the external act. It's the root. And so when you start to see, oh, I'm overachieving and I'm in this job that I hate, not because I want to be successful, but it's because dad never said he was proud of me when I was 7 years old. When I can let that go, when I can breathe that out, when I can learn to love myself, I no longer need these external accolades that don't fulfill me. In one switch, it literally dissipates the emotion. So if you remember in Eckhart Tolle's book, he says that once you can identify the source of the trigger, it dissipates by 50%.
Right.
While in breath, it takes you straight into those memories. It takes you straight into those emotions, and then you use the breath to release it from your body. Now, we layer on hypnosis and visioning so that you can reprogram and you can see how you want to show up in the world. For most people, they need a new vision. They need a new image of themselves. They need to break the pattern of who they've been, who they are. And so we have you explore that, and we start to fire new neural pathways. We start to create new synaptic connections in your brain. And now you start to see what's possible. You start to step into it. This is how real change is created.
In one session?
In one session.
So what happens with the second session?
Oh my God.
I mean, are we changing the world?
Hell yeah, we're changing the world with it. This needs to be a consistent behavior. That's honestly what I'm trying to do with mastery, because when I first discovered this, I was like, holy shit, one session was mind-blowing for me. It was so healing for my inner child. It was so healing for the patterns and the men I was choosing in my life. My second session, it was like, wow, I was completely disconnected to who I thought I was. I thought I was this tough girl New Yorker, but this second session showed me this image of myself being graceful, sensual, playful. I was like, wow, I've been completely disconnected. I've been living out of defense mechanisms. My third session, I completely healed my relationship to my mother, which I didn't even know was broken. And that was the changing moment for me. So in my third session, the spiritual teachers had said, I want to go into your relationship with your mom. I said, I don't want to. Like, I have daddy issues. My mom and I are great. We don't need to cover my mom. And she was like, no, I think it's one worth exploring. I might get emotional talking about this. It always gets me. But I go into the session, and the first thing I see is a pitch black room, and I just see the word Sedona. And I'm like, okay, maybe my mom and I are supposed to go to Sedona. She lives in Arizona. We've never been. And I'm like, I hope that's all that's coming up in the session. As soon as that came up, I literally saw my mom's entire life flash in my session. She was a Vietnamese refugee. She escaped her country when she was 19 years old, no food or water for 2 weeks. She came to the Netherlands, had me when she was very young, had a husband that was not good to her. She sacrificed, she struggled, she survived. She worked 3 jobs when I was growing up. I was a spoiled brat, and it all came through in the session. And seeing my mom's life through her eyes and seeing how ungrateful I was when I didn't even think there was anything wrong. And I'm someone who's self-aware, has been in therapy, has read a lot of books, and I didn't know that there was something broken in that relationship. That was so heartbreaking for me to see how I treated her. I wrote her a letter saying all the things. I cried hysterically for hours, like my face was so puffy. And it was healing. It was healing for her. It was healing for me. And I thought to myself, if I just went through that experience when I didn't even know something was wrong, how many more people need this? How many more relationships could I help? This is a mission now. You know?
I guess my question is, as you said, you read a lot of books, you've been in a lot of therapy, you're very self-aware. Someone who's not as self-aware, would they even come close to getting those kinds of impactful moments in the situation? Because I struggle with tapping into my own emotions. Like I have a wall built up inside just based on how I grew up. Just, it is what it is. So for me to like meditate is very tough.
Yeah.
Sitting on a couch with a therapist, to me, would be one of the hardest things for me to do and to get any true value. So breath work, will that allow somehow to break that down through?
Yeah, you need a good coach. But
I'm sitting with one.
I could crack you in 5 minutes. I just have to mention your daughter. That's your soft spot. So the breath gets you out of conditioned thought patterns, and it helps you it helps you to dissolve the ego. It helps you to just go a little bit deeper. It's moving, it's moving energy. For some people who are super blocked or who are super protective, sometimes they need 3 sessions. But I've done thousands of sessions now. And I had one session, I don't know if you're familiar with Brian Mazza, but he's fitness entrepreneur, influencer, and he hosts something called High Performance Lifestyle Training. And these guys are ripped. They do Navy SEAL workouts. It's like a very intense experience. I was the end of their retreat. These guys come in, just jacked, like, oh, what are we meditating? What the hell is this shit? I'm like, just go ahead and lay down. I know it's
So you can
coming.
do it in a group setting as well.
Oh, yeah.
It's not one-on-one.
I just did a session for 600 people, and they all had breakthroughs. You can read about them. Yeah, it's crazy. Wow. So these 30 guys lay down, and they're super skeptical, as many people are and should be.
Is the environment dark?
The environment's dark. It's in a place called Remedy Place in West Hollywood. It's like a recovery center, social wellness club. They're all in a room like you would almost go to like an elevated yoga studio. They're laying on a mat. They have blindfolds on. And I just cue them to start breathing. I play the music, and I start to guide with some vocal cues. I think it took about 7 minutes or so for one person to start wailing. And then the whole room just broke down. And I'm talking bawling, every single one of these guys. And when they came out of the experience, what they shared was it was the first time they processed 9/11. It was the first time they processed their brother dying. They saw their survivor's guilt from Afghanistan. It was the first time they felt safe to have an outlet to release emotion, and they took it. And now those guys are like, huge advocates of my work, and everyone's hugging me, and we all love each other, and it's great. But yeah, this work moves people. It's powerful.
I see where it can go. My question is, are there negative ramifications? Can it take you down a spiral where unintended consequences?
So yes and no, right? I think a lot of people they just don't want to go there. They don't want to go into, Pandora's box. They don't want to open it. They don't want to feel emotions of the past. But that's your own growth decision. You can face it or not, but it's there. Mm-hmm. It's living in your body. It's living in your subconscious. It's living in your psyche. It's playing out in ways that you don't want it to in your business, in your relationship, in your defensiveness, in the way that you react, in your frustrations. So deal with it or don't. But
sure,
in a 20-minute session, you can release it, you can heal it. And if you stay consistent in this work, then you can keep tapping into the best version of yourself. And every day as a block comes up, you move it and you act from a place of alignment.
So does it get to the point where you do this breath work awake walking, where it's like just part of or does it require the stillness, the darkness,
Yeah, I like to think of this as your 20-minute morning practice. You wake up, you lay down, you just do this 2-part inhale, 1-part exhale. You pick your intention for that day. And then whatever your next, we always guide for an intuitive action step. Whatever your action step is, once you come out of the breathwork, you take it immediately, first thing you do, and then you go about your day. Even me, I do it every single day, but around 3 p.m., I'm like bitchy again. I'm like my old self. You know what I mean? Like we're so conditioned. We have so many years of programming and so many years of beliefs that it takes, it really does take consistency and it takes discipline. But I think 20 minutes every single morning will go a really long way.
So it sets us up till 2:55. So I want to hang out with you before 3 o'clock.
Yeah, you definitely want to get me before 3.
So for entrepreneurs and for business leaders and for the people in the workforce, how would you recommend that? Because I know a lot of them are busy. Mm-hmm. I don't have time. We all put things off for tomorrow. Is this something that you've tailored towards the busy professional? Or is this something more that this is really outside of the business realm? This is more for the overall individual, like kids, teenagers. I know it's for everybody, but where would you say is which cohort needs it the most?
It's hard to say which cohort needs it the most. I think I'm most driven by working with high achievers and entrepreneurs because I like their other characteristics of discipline and work ethic and dedication. I think that makes my job easier because I know that they'll do it consistently. And I know that they have other qualities to make an impact with it. So when I work with CEOs or execs and we do sessions, it's like, how do they become more compassionate? How do they become more empathetic managers and leaders? How can they scale in a way that is really needed by society? How can they make their product more conscious? I love impact.
Yeah.
And so doing sessions on business leaders, whether it's their own psychological block, and it might be issues with their relationship at home, it might be they're just not communicating in a way that's being received by their team, it might be blind spots in the culture. Those are really important sessions to have. And when we do it for a full team, it's incredible to see everyone rally behind the mission, put their egos at the door, and really collaborate on a common goal. What an incredible way to help build your team and have everybody get creative, use their skills, and see how you can work together more effectively and more productively.
So in a space this size, if we move this desk out, how many people can we put in this room?
20 to 30.
So we could do my whole corporate team right here.
Absolutely.
All right.
They'll be obsessed with it.
I'm gonna ask, would you take us through one at some point?
Yes, of course.
Okay. I'm kind of nervous.
Yeah,
I have anxiety about it.
Well, the anxiety will clear in just a few minutes. I think, like I said, sessions range. And based on the music that I play and based on the cues and the intention and the topic that we will choose together, you don't need to feel nervous. If I play Rufus to Soul, your whole team's going to be vibing. They're going to be, we'll play some trance music. We'll have them see the impact 5-10 years. Everyone's going to be like flying. It's going to feel so good. It's going to be euphoric, literally blissful.
Wow.
If I played like Celine Dion and have everyone see their ex-partners, everyone's going to cry in 10 minutes. But I'm not going to do that to you guys. You know what I mean?
My heart will go on.
So, we'll just customize it and we'll tailor it, especially for your first time, I think.
As an entrepreneur, I know how meaningful it is to invest in the people and causes that are close to me. And on GoFundMe, it's easy, safe, and powerful to do just that. Whether you're supporting a family member, friend, local business, or charity. And whenever you make a donation, you're protected by the GoFundMe Giving Guarantee. Visit GoFundMe.com today to help make a positive difference in your community.
You getting into flow state and seeing the mental clarity, that's the takeaway that should be for entrepreneurs. You think it's 20 minutes in the morning. This is like 10xing the rest of your day.
Well, now you're speaking the language that entrepreneurs want to hear.
Yeah. So, I'll talk about intuitive decision making, but the clarity that comes from breath work is insane. The decisiveness, the creative ideas, the solutions, the way you need to word the email, the topics or the outline that you need in the presentation, what you need to say to the client to convert them, that comes through.
Yeah.
It's wild to see how clear you can be. And then when we rehearse some of those things in breath work, the confidence that you'll have executing when you come out is crazy. So when people are like, 20 minutes, I'm like, I say this really humbly, I'm the most productive person that I know. I can execute and pump out work like nobody because I breathe every day, I get crystal clear, and then I just take action. And that is a formula for serious success.
Which is a perfect segue. But before we go there, I have one last question.
Yeah.
You hear the word breath work. It's kind of like hearing the word yoga. There's a lot of different modalities of breath work from my limited understanding.
Yes.
Just like there's a lot of modalities of yoga. Are they all helpful? And how is your style, your modality, if it's fair to call it that? And I don't know if I'm using the right word, but how is it different from others? And are they all good, but there's pros and cons to each?
I'm going to say something a little controversial, but no, I don't think all breath work is good.
Okay.
I think theoretically, you're always either calming or energizing, which is a positive thing. But because our modern society is so skeptical, to have someone do a breath work that's not super effective and then not convert them to want to do this all the time, I don't think is good. I would not recommend pranayama for you. I would not say do kundalini. I wouldn't tell you to go into a holotropic session. I've created a style of breath work that is for the modern person who wants to perform at their highest level.
So you created this style?
I did, yeah.
Completely?
It's called hypno breath work.
Okay.
So it has traditional holotropic breathwork roots.
And what is holotropic?
So holotropic breathwork is really like the grandfather of breathwork. It was created by a man named Stan Grof, who was a clinical psychologist. He used to study LSD. When LSD became banned, he was like, how can we reach these altered states of consciousness without the psychedelics? And he discovered if you took one inhale in, one exhale out, and you did this for about 90 minutes, you could see childhood memories. You could heal traumas.
So you kind of get high?
You kind of get high, yeah. So some people will say it feels like an ayahuasca journey or it feels like you're on shrooms. And those journeys can be very healing.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a very traditional, it's more of like an ancient Eastern practice, which I'm a former New Yorker. I knew if I went to these like hedge fund guys, like, yeah, we're going to do this holotropic breathwork, they'd be like, F off. Like, I'm
Right.
not, there's no chance. But if I position it in a way that's 20 minutes, because I doubled the inhale, and then played more modern music and made this a mechanism to get into flow state for clarity, for creativity, then it would be much more appealing to the masses. So I took roots of holotropic breathwork, but then I added in hypnosis because I think people need very clear vocal cues, prompts, and guidance to focus their mind.
Now, when you say hypnosis, my head goes to, you're going to have me clucking like a chicken, you know, like.
So hypnotic suggestion might be you're 3 songs in, and I say, what's blocking you in your business today? That's a hypnotic suggestion. And and it might come up for you, I'm having doubt about making this decision, you know, and then I'll say, well, reprogram it. What does the outcome of that decision look like? What would your ideal outcome look like? And just having you explore using words or using affirmations to have you see your most confident self or having you see your team collaborating. It's just vocal prompts and suggestion so that you can expand your mind to new solutions.
Okay. So, you know, for the amateur mind who's hearing this, and for myself, it's more like when I visualize the outcome I want before I go do it.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Simple, right?
Yes. That part I get.
But when I first discovered breathwork, or when I went on my week-long journey, they just played music for 2.5 hours. There was no direction. And so when I started exploring workshops and classes, I started seeing all these people had releases, but they had no idea what they were processing. And so I just saw this huge opportunity to digitize integration and to make this more accessible at scale. And so I added the suggestions, the hypnotic suggestions. I added more modern music. I'm a huge fan. I don't know if you know Dr. Joe Dispenza. Mm-hmm. He's a neuroscientist. Yep. I love his work about having people feel the emotion of what they want to create. That's really supercharging manifestation. So I added that into the last songs as well. And now we have a journey. Like, we've really crafted something very special where people can go in for exactly what they need that day. Because sometimes you'll be like, I just want to be in flow today. I just need clarity on this one business decision. Another day, you're going to be like, I need to be way more patient with my kids today. I need a totally different session. So I wanted to create a range of what people experience on a day-to-day so that they had it at their fingertips for whatever they needed.
And this is all on Mastery?
It's all on Mastery app.
And how many different sessions types?
There's 80 sessions on the app.
And are they, but they're not, there's 80 sessions, but let's say I'm having trouble being patient with my kids. Mm-hmm. There's one for that. And so if I have that same emotion 6 weeks from now, I would read.
Yes.
And it's okay to go through it. It's not one time and it won't help me again.
Yeah, yeah. We have, I think, about 8 different topics on parenting. Yeah. 8 different sessions on parenting. I think there's, patient parenting, conscious parenting, loving parenting. So if there's nuances in what you need with your child, you can definitely go into that. We have sessions for corporate on communication, on decision making, on time management. So it's nuanced. Mm-hmm. I really feel like we've thought this through,
Of course.
So, yeah.
Well, Mastery, it's in the name.
Yeah, it's in the name, exactly.
But you hit on something very important a minute ago, recipe for success. What successful people do. And that is the core thesis of this whole entire show. Something I am so passionately, I'm such a believer in. And I think we need to help more people understand how to be successful and how to be a better version of themselves, which is why I'm fascinated about breathwork, because that's an area I don't participate today. I've tried to meditate. I have failed so many times that I give up. And if I should probably eat my own dog food and live by my own ethos with and Kaizen my way there. But it's really hard for someone with my style mind to simplify and shut it off and be present. Not in the future, not in the past, not on something you have to deal with, but like right here, right now.
Yeah.
Just in the moment.
Yeah.
And when I'm by myself, like with you, it's easy. When I have another human interacting with me, great. But if I have to do it in my own head, it's hard.
Mm-hmm.
You have a belief on success. We kind of touched it. The principles of success.
Mm.
How would you articulate them for the audience?
Honestly, I feel nervous right now because I feel like in today's world, you just can't be blunt about this, but I don't really care anymore.
It's time to piss people off.
It's time to piss people off. No, it's very simple to me. You just have to work hard. Like, I don't know what happened to this generation. I don't know where the work ethic is, to be honest. And I think you need to set your goal and then work backwards from that. What do you need to do to attain that goal? All I see now is just ideation and words, and I don't see any execution. And it's very frustrating. I have 90 coaches that teach hypno breathwork that are certified. And so
that meaning they, in their own communities, in their own environments, are doing your coursework for a group or individuals like myself.
Yes.
Okay.
So I have 90 coaches now, which has given me really good intel into what patterns. I'm really doing a lot of pattern recognition about who's really becoming successful and who's kind of just staying the course that they've already been on. And I'm really observing all of these coaches, and it's truly the ones that take action.
Mm-hmm.
It's so simple. The breathwork will always give you the next step, and sometimes it's really uncomfortable. You have to have tough conversations. You have to reach out, which makes you feel like a burden. You have to, show up and elevate and expand and be on stage. Or there's all these intuitive action steps that are for your highest path and for your business to blow up however you want it to. And then people just don't execute. And then they come to me in 3 months and they're like, oh, I'm not getting clarity in my breathwork. I'm like, did you do the 17 action steps before that? Don't come to me with this.
Right.
Unless you're going to take responsibility for yourself, you're going to be accountable for your own success. We can only help people so far, right? We can only, and I know, and I've seen this from you too, like you're extremely generous with your time and with your resources, but we can only show them the door. We can't hold their hand through the door. And I'm just struggling to really understand where the lack of motivation is and where the lack of just follow through on the execution is, because that's truly what it takes to be successful.
Do you think it's because they have limiting beliefs?
See, this is the tough thing. We all have blocks. So whether your block is procrastination, it's self-sabotage, it's perfectionism, whatever your block is, at the end of the day, you have to do your growth work. If you're committed to growing, dig into the block, reprogram it, and behave differently.
Yep.
So I'm not really interested in what it is. You know what I mean? We all have them. Mm-hmm. So it's just kind of how you're going to treat it, how you're going to look at it, and how you're going to move from it. And a lot of people would just rather stay in an unhappy comfort zone than go into the unknown and create a new outcome. They would rather be in a miserable comfort zone because they can predict it than try something new and be responsible for their life.
I mean, I absolutely agree with you. I have had this conversation repetitively in some form, because success is not, to a lot of people listening, it's controversial what I'm about to say. Success is not that hard. It takes hard work, but it's not that hard. You don't have to be a rocket scientist or
so agree, yeah.
Elon Musk intelligence or Mark Zuckerberg intelligence or Bill Gates intelligence in the business community. You do have to just take immediate decisive action and work your ass off and figure it out and stumble and get back up and try again. And if you do that, you beat 98% of the people because they quit.
I will say that I think the most common, what's been so clear to me about what it takes to be successful is that you just have to keep going. Like, you just have to keep going. In those moments where you're like, this isn't working, I'm not getting the traction that I want, you're probably really close. Mm-hmm. And if you just can break through that phase, that little plateau, then there's going to be some magic on the other side. Because you're right, most people, they quit. And the successful ones, they just didn't give up. They just kept going. It's not that there wasn't moments. It's not that you and I don't have moments where it's like, oh shit, is this really worth it? But
long moments sometimes.
Long moments, long phases of this. But you get your shit together. You connect back to your vision. You remember what you're doing it for, and you keep going.
And you adapt, and you alter, and you change, and you find.
100%.
It's refreshing to have someone else say that in the same manner with which I feel it.
Yeah, to me, it's just a work ethic thing.
Yes. And I have been told that it's not as simple as work ethic, because some people work really hard to get no results because they're in a dead-end job. But where they're missing, in my opinion, is they're working at the wrong things and not on themselves.
I love that.
Right? They're not working on improving their knowledge base and their education and their relationship capital and their exposure and what they can be exposed to and their experiences and all that time. And on a different episode of not my show, but someone else's show that I just filmed today earlier, we were having this very conversation. And I think he said, Les Brown said it, and I'm going to regurgitate it badly, but show me what you do all day and I'll show you if you're successful or you're getting the results, right? Because we all have windshield time. And some people are singing Celine Dion, and that's fine because it's entertaining. But if you're not where you want to be, maybe listen to a book on something that's going to inform you. Listen to a YouTube, listen to a podcast. Get educated on a new topic that can expand your brain, expand your mind, and make you go, oh my gosh, what if I apply something like that to this? And then the thing you've been working on for 18 years with no results, that moment was the moment you needed, and tomorrow your results are there.
I heard you say that and I wanted to run into the room and be like, yes, exactly, that's it. You know, I was in my teacher training on the last day we talk about business and we talk about marketing. And I've seen the clip where you say immediate decisive action. For me, it's intuitive action.
Okay.
One and the same, maybe.
How do you define intuitive action?
Intuitive action for me is if it comes through breath, if it comes through meditation, that's authentic, that's soulful, that's spiritual. Your action step is, you know, I might have thought the action step was, oh, book that podcast, but maybe the action step was, oh, ask them to go for a coffee instead. The intuition is not logical. It's not pragmatic, but there's like a higher source at play.
Sure.
So I always say take intuitive action. And when you do that, you open doors and you plant seeds, and they are not linear. And I really hope every entrepreneur who's listening to this, the action steps aren't always linear. They don't always make sense. They don't always feel logical. But if you trust yourself and you keep moving forward, they're going to come together in divine ways that you could never predict. So
that's very well said.
Keep taking the action steps. The other thing for success is like delayed gratification. What is up with people needing it immediately? I just don't understand.
Social media.
You have to put the work in.
But it's social media. I mean, we've never had this kind of access in our pockets. Being bored is gone.
Yeah.
My kids, I can't drive from here to the grocery store with them in a car with my youngest without her cell phone. She'd be like, I'm bored. I can't sit for 6 minutes and look out a window. Like, what am I going to do?
Oh my goodness, yeah.
And I think it's just the technological advances have taken away the fact that when we were kids, we didn't have those things. So the idea of an airplane having a little screen where you could watch a movie was like only first class got that.
Yeah, that's true.
And now it's free Wi-Fi with 300 movies, and it's gone from actually being bored to being overloaded with options that you feel like there's nothing to watch, right?
Yeah.
And I think that it's just the reality of today's where we are technologically, but that is instilling in our common man and woman this, I need it now, and if I don't get it now, I'm going to get instant gratification somewhere else. So why would I go down that path?
Yeah. Well, I see this a lot where, you know, people will say to me, oh, I sent an email. I'm like, one? Are you shitting me? You know, that was your effort?
Yeah.
And then you quit? You stopped after that?
See, that's the first step.
This is crazy. Even when I remember when I was trying to get a job in advertising in New York, I stole the production books from where I was interning. I found all the handles for every company. I cross-referenced them on LinkedIn. I sent 200 emails. I had HR people saying, please stop. Please stop writing us. But if you want to make something happen, you'll figure out how to make it happen. You need to be resourceful. You need to be consistent. You need to take action every single day.
Pleasantly persistent. AKA be a pain in the ass.
I don't know if this resonates with you too, but when we talk about digital and just being stimulated by social media and other people's successes or what you see, sometimes I just live in my own delusional reality. You know, I live in a world where all of my dreams have already come true, and I just tap back into that world. I go into breathwork and I see what I want to build. I see the impact. I see the homes and the travel and my family being taken care of, and I see all those things. And then I just keep living in that delusional reality and keep taking action as my highest self until my external world matches my internal world.
I mean, I do a version of that. I've narrowed down to, I just compete with myself.
Yeah.
And keeps me
that's
very
nice.
grounded. It just lets me realize, like, I don't compare myself to Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Right? I just don't. So yes, Elon Musk is further along on his entrepreneurial journey than I am. Fantastic, Elon.
Yeah.
I'm competing with Jeff. Where was I yesterday? Am I a little better today? No? Okay, why not? What do I need to do better tomorrow?
Yeah.
And it just so allows me to stay focused. I don't care. And I don't mean that negatively, but I don't care about other people's successes. Yeah. I support their successes. I root for them. They don't impact me.
Yeah, but maybe those are the stories that people need to hear, you know, because I think right now they're just used to this, like we said, instant gratification, or thinking that it's supposed to be an overnight success. And that's just not the reality. You have to put your time in. You have to put your work in. You need to be patient with some of those results. And you have to be self-motivated.
You do have to be self-motivated. And I think that is a huge struggle for so many entrepreneurs, so many young adults, so many people who aren't even entrepreneurs. You know, I say entrepreneurs, but it could be anybody.
Yeah.
Self-motivation, that's why they don't take those actions.
And they're not self-motivated because they don't actually believe it's possible for them. And that's the psychological block. And that's why they need breath work to see what's possible.
And in one session, they can be not fixed, because I think they can be impacted. Is that fair?
Yes, that's fair.
Okay. Because we're not going to overnight one session, we're all done. If it was that easy.
It will change your life.
It could change your life. It can get you on the right trajectory.
Yeah. But
which is why I'm going to try it. And as I live by my own core values, and I'm going to take immediate decisive action, we're not leaving today without scheduling the time where I'm going to participate and try.
That. Let's do it.
Yes. What other core values do you have besides intuitive action that are your non-negotiables, so to speak? Even if you don't have them written down, but just innately, like you have them.
I mean, my dad's a military. Technically my stepdad, I feel like he's my dad. Mm-hmm. He's a military guy, so discipline was largely ingrained in me, and that's why I think execution feels so natural to me. So discipline, consistency. I think once you go on the entrepreneurial journey and you decide that you're going to stay on it, fortitude. You need to have a lot of resilience. I think having just a really strong mindset, like believing in who you are, what you're meant to do. And the easiest part about it to me is when I turn it outward.
What does that mean?
It means that you can come up against your own blocks and say, am I good enough for this? Like, do I have a fear of being seen? But when you're like, it's not about me. This isn't about me. Bringing breath work to the world is so that other people have an outlet, so they can get out of their own head. They can release their own anxiety. They can see who they're meant to become. They can feel that power. They can have clear, decisive action steps. I'm a vessel to help bring that to the world. And so I feel a responsibility to step into that and communicate it clearly so that people feel inspired to do it. But it's not about me. So when I get in my head and when I don't want to show up, I just have to turn it outward.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think remembering having this pure intention of being of service to other people is a huge motivator.
Which kind of goes back to the definition of purpose, that last piece. Hey, fitness fans, ready to crush your fitness goals? Make your move to EOS Fitness, where becoming a member starts at just $9.99 a month. Gyms are open 24/7 and packed with the latest gym equipment to keep your workouts fresh. What are you waiting for? Give them a call, drop by, or hit up jefffenster.com/EOS to join. EOS Fitness, better gym, better price. Now, let's get after those goals.
Mm-hmm.
Service to others.
Yeah.
Because without that, it's not really purpose, right?
Exactly. Then it's more ego. It's more about you. It's for your significance. It's for your status, which no judgment. But when you start to contribute to something greater than yourself, that will give your life so much more color, so much more meaning, so much more fulfillment. Then you can still have the goals. I'm still super driven. I love the hustle, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But now when I achieve something, it feels good.
Yeah.
You know, I can celebrate it.
And it can be true even if you want to make a lot of money because you like a lot of material wealth.
Yeah.
You do that, but to give back also.
Yeah.
And create scholarship funds and help more people.
Exactly.
With those resources.
I love abundance.
Mm-hmm.
I think everyone is deserving of abundance. I think that You can be spiritual and very business savvy and have all the abundance that you want. I don't think it's one or the other. I think that we can all create exactly who we want to be and make positive, big impact in the world.
So in your breathwork journey, because obviously you've created your own form, do you only participate in your own form now?
No.
Or is it kind of like yoga where you still will do other styles?
I did in the beginning. I still went to a bunch of classes. You know, I want to be open. I want to stay open. I will say that it was frustrating being in some of the other classes because I was like, oh, we could do this so much better. It's not as efficient. I'll do my coaches sessions though. So my coaches are on Mastery. They're stellar. There's sessions that they do that are way better than the ones that I would do because they hit home for them.
Yep.
I don't need a session, I couldn't lead a session on procrastination because I don't relate to it. So I don't understand the emotion behind it. I don't understand the root. But one of my other coaches who's been through that, who's overcome that obstacle, who's transcended it, they guide it way more powerfully than I would. So I'll do their sessions on different topics.
So that's kind of the requirement to be a good coach is you have
100%.
to live that first.
Oh yeah.
So if I wanted to become a coach of yours, what does the program look like?
So it's a 4-day certification. I'm actually doing it hybrid in person in San Diego this year. I don't know when this airs, but it's November 2nd to the 5th. And
in San Diego?
It's in San Diego. Day 1, we really go through the history of breath. We understand techniques. We understand physiology. We understand energetics. I want my coaches to be extremely educated.
What is energetics?
How your energy affects you, how your thoughts are energy. We cover a lot of neuroscience, Dr. Joe Dispenza's work. So they're very well versed for whatever audience, whatever podcast, whatever corporate opportunity they have that they can speak about breath work, whether somebody wants to understand the physiology, the psychology, the spirituality. That's the education that they get on day 1. And then I guide them through a session that's really up-leveling their coaching and their leadership. So having them see a practice and a business that's way bigger than they've ever dreamed, and then having them step into it. So day 1 is a banger. And then day 2, we really cover 2 different spectrums, 2 different ends of the spectrum. So we do a really intense inner child healing session, and then we do a creative flow state session. And I teach them everything they need from scripts to how to create your playlist to vocal cues, reprogramming prompts, visioning tactics, and they really learn how to create their own journey. And then on day 3, it's live coaching with me. I'm very direct, I'm very blunt, and I'm very intuitive. So I go one-on-one with everyone and just help them identify their block, pair them with a partner, then they guide their first session, and then they have a session guided on them. And then on day 4, it's all marketing and business. And that's everything from understanding your target demographic to understanding your niche to your content strategy, course creation, retreats, workshops. It's all business. And then we do one final session to help with the retention of the entire program and experientially step into your next intuitive action step. So
that sounds very, very impactful.
It was all created through breathwork.
So when I complete the course, I'll have a certificate.
Yes.
That certificate allows me to, is teach the right word?
Yes, teach is the right word.
Okay, teach
Yeah.
under your program.
Yeah, so you're now a hypno breathwork certified coach. You can go kill it with one-on-one sessions, host your group sessions, get into corporate sessions, host your retreats at events. In my opinion, it's definitely the most efficient. It's definitely the most efficient modality. I like to make it a very results-driven modality just because that's my background, that's who I am. Everyone kind of has different things that resonate for them, but I've guided thousands of sessions now. The feedback is really consistent. It's life-changing.
Once I'm a certified coach, do I have any ongoing work with you?
Jeff, are you getting certified?
I'm just asking questions. I'm curious. I'm very curious. And I'm sure some of our audience is going to be very curious.
Yeah, so we have a community channel where people can still ask me questions along the way, feel supported, do collaborations, and partner with each other because everyone becomes really, really close through that very, very vulnerable 4-day experience. And then I'm actually working on something to support the coaches afterwards. What I've realized is there's still a lot of psychological work that needs to happen when you start up-leveling. I don't know if you've experienced this, but even as we get to different milestones of success, then I kind of discover new blocks. I get to like new layers. I'm like, oh, cool. I didn't know this was going to be a thing.
I think that's natural though, right? Like
Yeah.
I use sports analogies because they work well with me, but the best high school athlete on their team then goes to college where all of them were the best high school athletes. And so now they have to up level again.
Yeah.
And then they go to the pros and it's like everybody was the star in college. So you're no longer the star, you're amongst the stars. So how do you again do that? And I think that's true as you climb the corporate ladder, as you climb any ladder. When you get to the higher levels, the people that are there climbed already all those ladder steps too.
I find that to be especially true when it comes to money.
Yes.
So typically, we are conditioned to make the same amount of money we've always made. Like our nervous system knows how to make X amount of dollars. If you were to transition into something else, you could get back to where you are right now because it's baseline for you. But in order to stretch, in order to get to your next ceiling, your next level, you have to, what they say in the spiritual community, you have to expand your wealth container. How much money you can hold, how much money you feel safe having in.
Expand your wealth container.
Expand your wealth container, yeah.
I love that.
And then, so I've done a lot of money work, and I remember, okay, it's like flowing, it's coming in, I'm more abundant than I've ever been. And then it was like, oh, my next belief was money comes as fast as it goes. And so I was like, whoa, I'm making more, but now I'm spending a lot more. You know, so there's all these things that you need to up level. So I am working on a mastermind with my business coach right now to launch after this certification for people who want additional support.
That's great. That's really cool. So if you guys are interested, first take a course on mastery. Yes. That should be step one. Yes. Right?
Do a session on mastery, yes.
And then reach out. And then, so wait, if they can't make November 2nd to 5th, how often do you put these on?
I do them twice a year, so the next one will be in May.
Okay. Always in San Diego?
It's virtual too. We have a lot of people international, a lot of people from Europe join.
And it works virtually?
Oh, yeah. It's been virtual up until this point. This is the first year I'm opening up a few in-person spots in San Diego.
Very cool. I thought it was all in person.
No, it's always virtual. And then breathwork session was like, it's time to, because it started during COVID, you know, so everything was over Zoom. And it was incredibly powerful. Like, nobody leaves the certification the same way they came in. It's just as much a personal up level as it is a professional one. But yeah, this year I think it's going to be even more magical because we're going to do it live.
And how did you come up with the name Mastery?
Have you read Robert Greene's book?
Laws of Power?
No, he has another book called Mastery.
Oh,
and
but he wrote Laws of Power, right?
I've read The Laws of Human Nature, and my favorite one.
But he has all those, the laws of.
I didn't read 48 Laws of Power because it was just.
I didn't read it either.
I knew the book. But I was like, this is a little dark for my psyche. So Robert Greene wrote a book called Mastery, and it's incredible.
I have not read it.
My favorite part about the book is he talks about the future belongs to those who combine creative skills in unique ways.
I need to think about what you just said.
The future belongs to those who combine creative skills in unique ways.
Okay.
So it's really like a multidisciplinary approach. Don't be one-dimensional. How can an advertising and marketing background blend with a spiritual modality and then also play in the neuroscience and tech space? It's about having these unique combinations.
Well, I think you just hit on something, having limited experience with a lot of the Eastern modalities of spiritual, you know, all of it. It tends to speak a different language than the masses speak.
Yeah.
And having that marketing background sets you in a very unique position to bridge that gap.
Yeah.
And
I really feel that.
Speak corporate. Take it, but speak to us corporately that we understand.
Yeah. I actually went back to my agency in New York and I hosted a session. And I said, okay, song 1, I want you to see your target demographic. Song 2, I want you to see the creative breath. Song 3, I want you to see your media channels. Song 4, I want you to see how the audience is going to be impacted. I mean, nobody in India would ever think about, you know, spinning this modality into a way that could speak to industries. But we do that with lawyers. We do that with real estate. We speak their language. We bring that into the sessions so that they can get creative in their own field.
So my last question on breathwork. You're in the middle of your day. We'll say it's after 3 o'clock. So say 4 o'clock, something goes broke, bad day, issues. Do you have a breath technique in the moment while you're not laying down, but you're in the hustle bustle of the day that you can revert to? Or is it not something that you can go to in that moment?
Oh yeah, you can drop in at any moment. We have mini sessions too, 8 minutes that you can just play and then do the circular breathing. When it's past 3 o'clock, I'll just put on binaural beats to stimulate, different regions of my brain. And I'll literally, I like to work in my living room, and I'll lay down on the bench and I'll just do a couple of it and get the words, and then send the email and then lay down and get the words. My partner comes in, he's like, oh, here she goes again. I'm just like in, out, in, out, in, out, because I want the words to flow. I want them to be intuitive. I want them to be original. I want them to have the energy of power, of truth. So I always breathe before I create anything or before I put anything out in the world. So I'll do that all day.
Okay. And then when you go on stage, because you speak all over as well, do you can you put an audience through this, or is it more you're speaking about it kind of like we're talking about it?
Oh no, I'll put the whole audience under.
The whole audience.
And it's epic. You have to see some of the...
We got to share a stage because I want to be there when you do it.
Oh my God, you will be floored. We just did. I was with Jen. We were both speaking at the Powerhouse Women event. 600 women put on their mastery blindfolds. They were doing the breath work. I cued them to see the most undeniable versions of themselves to clear their blocks. We had tears. We had people standing up. We had hands in the air. They came out and we're like, how do you feel? They're like, free. That was life-changing. Oh my God, I just had the biggest breakthrough. I saw my business. I have clarity. I don't even know, like hundreds of DMs. And I posted a lot of the comments on my page as well, because everyone had a huge breakthrough. It was so transformative. Yeah.
You send me some of the next times you speak. I want to come.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I want to do it privately here, but I want to come and see it.
Oh, we're going to do this together.
Yeah. I'm fascinated.
Awesome.
Well, this has been wonderful. I can keep going forever. I'm getting the blinking light, but this has been awesome. Is there anything that we didn't touch on that you think the audience that is hearing about breathwork for the first time, that they're inexperienced, kind of like me, or apprehensive, like I am, that you would say to them that says, check this out. Like, this is something so important that could, as you said, have a life breakthrough in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
This isn't a 4-year college degree where you have to wait 4 years for results. I mean, we're talking today.
Yeah. I would say just let go of all the preconceived notions of what you think, even when you hear the word breathwork. Just let it all go. What if there was a tool that could supercharge your clarity, your decision-making, and your confidence? So you're not faking it. You don't feel like you're swimming an uphill battle. You don't feel like an imposter when you're leading your team. What if there was a tool that in 20 minutes could have you embody your highest self? It's worth trying.
Yes, I'm in. Well, thank you. This was great.
Thank you.
I genuinely love the approach. I love your background. I love where you've taken this. I haven't done it yet, so I am speaking from no experience, but I'm going to try it, and then we're going to share the feedback.
I love it. Thank you so much for having me and just being open to this conversation.
Yes.
Hey everyone. First, I want to thank all of you for tuning in. And if you guys haven't heard about my new book, Relationship Bank Account, click the link in the show notes or search the title on Amazon. This book is packed with all my secrets to success in both relationships and life. Make sure to pick up a copy, and if the book helps you on your journey, let us know by leaving a review. I appreciate all of you and can't wait to see you on the next one.